What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 154 of the Idiotic Sports Talk. I'm your host, Liam Gavin, coming to you live from my dining room table. And today I want to give you all the Week 16 recap around the NFL. A lot to break down, so we'll start with last Thursday's game. The Jaguars beat the Jets 19-3. Trevor Lawrence, 229 passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but he did have a rushing touchdown and a fumble. As for tight end Evan Ingram, 7 catches for 113. Zach Wilson of the Jets had 92 passing yards, no touchdown, and an interception. He was benched for Chris Strelliver, who threw for 90 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and 54 rushing yards. And running back Michael Carter had 5 catches for 44 yards. So the Jaguars go to 7-8 and continue to stay hot to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Jaguars won their last 4 out of 5 games. And the Jags offense had 376 total yards, with 147 of them being rushing yards. And Trevor Lawrence continues to impress, and he shows us all why he was the number 1 draft pick in 2021. As for the Jags defense, they had three sacks, 1 interception, and 1 forced fumble, and they shut down the Jets offense completely. And speaking of the Jets and their offense, they had a really rough night. They had 248 yards and couldn't run the ball with just 66 yards. And Zach Wilson is most likely done with the Jets, as he was benched. And Chris Strelliver came in, and he looked like he was trying to win the game for the Jets. He accounted for 144 out of the 248 offensive yards that the Jets had. And with Wilson in the mix, the Jets had a whopping 104 yards of offense. And because of that, the Jets are now 7-8. They've lost 4 straight and are most likely going to miss the playoffs. As for the Saturday games, the Christmas Eve games, we have the Ravens beating the Falcons 17-9. Tyler Huntley, 115 passing, a touchdown, no interceptions. Gus Edwards had 99 rushing yards. And as for the rookie QB, Desmond Ridder of the Falcons, 218 passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. And the rookie receiver, Drake London, 7 catches, 96 yards, and a fumble. So the Ravens get back in a win column to go 10-5 on the season. They've clinched a playoff spot. The Ravens offense was able to avoid turning the ball over, and they were able to run the ball, which they have been doing good all year, for 184 yards. And the Ravens defense made sure the Falcons offense couldn't do anything. They got a few 4th down stops and were able to slow down that Falcons run game that has been really good over the last few weeks. And as for the rookie quarterback, Desmond Ridder, in his second start, he played better this week than he did last week. And a big part of this game that really lost momentum for the Falcons was the rookie receiver, Drake London, fumbling the ball, where the Ravens were able to get the ball and then score shortly after. And the Falcons are now 5-10 on the season. They have lost 4 straight games and are eliminated from the playoffs. The next game that we have on our Sunday slate, the Panthers beat the Lions 37-23. Sam Darnold, 250 passing, a touchdown, no interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. Devontae Foreman, 165 rushing and a touchdown. And Chuba Hubbard, 125 rushing yards. And then there's receiver DJ Moore, 5 catches, 83 yards, and a touchdown. As for Jared Goff of the Lions, 355 passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also had a fumble. The tight end Shane Zylstra had 3 touchdown catches, and DJ Chark had 4 catches for 108. So the Panthers shred through the Lions team that was red hot, and they go 6-9. The Panthers offense exploded for 570 yards. They ran the ball all over the Lions for 320 total rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. And the Panthers have now won 3 of their last 4 games. The red-hot Lions finally get cooled off. Jared Goff played very well, but the Lions' run game could not step up. They had 45 rushing yards. The Lions were outrushed 320-45, just an absolutely insane number. And the Lions' defense, who was solid the last few weeks, got absolutely abused for almost 600 yards. Lions are 7-8. Next, the Chiefs beat the Seahawks 24-10. Pat Mahomes, 224 passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. Tight end Travis Kelce, 6 catches for 113. As for Geno Smith of the Seahawks, 215 passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The rookie Kenneth Walker had 107 rushing yards, and DK Metcalf, 7 grabs for 81 yards. So the Chiefs get to 12-3 with a flawless victory. The Chiefs played a clean football game on both sides of the ball. And when the Chiefs don't make mistakes, they're pretty much impossible to beat. And as for the Seahawks offense, they had 348 yards on offense, but they started really slow in the game. An interception by Geno Smith, going for it 3 out of 6 times on 4th down, really hurt their chances to win. And the Seahawks defense was unable to make any plays. They were not able to force a turnover, and because of that, the Seahawks are now 7-8. They are 1-5 in their last 6 games and could miss the playoffs. Next, the Saints beat the Browns 17-10. Andy Dalton, 92 passing yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill each had a rushing touchdown. As for Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson, 135 passing, no touchdowns, an interception, and a rushing touchdown. Nick Chubb, 92 rushing yards, and Amari Cooper, 6 catches for 72 yards. So the Saints go to 6-9 after getting the win on the road in a cold, windy, and snowy environment. Andy Dalton struggled passing the ball, but the whole Saints offense struggled. They just had 244 total yards. However, the Saints were able to run the ball for 152 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the Browns had an early 10-0 lead, but they failed to build off that in the second half. Miscues on their offense really set them back, such as an interception, a drop touchdown by Amari Cooper, and a failed 4th down attempt. And the Browns, they rushed for 124, but they could not throw the ball to save their lives. The Browns defense, they had 1 interception, but other than that, they were able to really get any pressure on a Saints offensive line that's not that good. The Browns go to 6-9, and they're eliminated from the playoffs. Next, the Bengals beat the Patriots 22-18. Joe Burrow, 375, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. As for T. Higgins, 8 catches for 128 and a touchdown. And Trent Irwin, he had 2 touchdown catches on the day. As for Mac Jones, 240 passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kendrick Bourne, 6 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. And Jacoby Myers, 6 catches, 83 yards for a touchdown. So the Bengals keep rolling as they go to 11-4 and won their 7th straight game. Bengals get their first win in Foxborough since 1986, but it was a stressful one because they had a 22-0 lead, but a few turnovers swung that momentum to the Patriots. Joe Burrow threw 2 interceptions. One was a pick 6, and then Jamar Chase fumbled, and that gave life to the Patriots, who went on an 18-0 run. And despite the 3 turnovers, the Bengals offense was able to get 448 total yards, and the Bengals defense had themselves a great game with 4 sacks and a forced fumble at the goal line with just less than a minute to go in the game, which pretty much sealed them the victory. And the Patriots offense continued to struggle again. The passing game was able to get going in the second half, but the running game was absolutely silent with just 61 yards. And the Patriots defense was their best offense as they had 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and 2 interceptions, one being that pick 6 I mentioned before. And the Patriots now go to 7-8 and are fighting for their playoff lives. Next, the Vikings beat the Giants 27-24. Kirk Cousins, 299 passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Justin Jefferson, 12 catches for 133 and a touchdown. And the tight end TJ Hawkinson, 13 catches for 109 and 2 scores. As for Daniel Jones, 334 passing, a touchdown and an interception. Saquon Barkley, 84 rushing yards and a touchdown. And Isaiah Hodgins, the rookie receiver, 8 catches, 89 yards and a touchdown. So the Vikings win another close game to go to 12-3 on the season. The Vikings offense had no turnovers with 382 yards. The Vikings receiving core was able to cook all afternoon. Justin Jefferson is by far the best wide receiver in the league right now. He's absolutely unstoppable, and there's no debate. I can't really think of any receiver who comes close to this guy. Been in the league 3 years and is just shattering all type of records. Giants defense had a really rough day with him. Speaking of defenses, the Vikings defense had 3 sacks, 1 interception, and 1 fumble. And Greg Joseph, he does it again. The kicker of the Vikings hits a 61-yard field goal as time expires for the win. This is his 5th game-winning field goal on the season. As for the Giants, they had 460 total yards on offense, but the 2 turnovers, one being the interception, the other one being the fumble, really hurt their chances to win. The Giants defense was able to pressure Kirk Cousins. They sacked him 4 times, but they couldn't create a turnover or they could not stop the receivers of the Vikings. Giants now have 8 wins, 6 losses, and a tie on the season. Next game, the Bills beat the Bears 36-13. 35-13. Josh Allen, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. Devin Singletary had 106 rushing yards and a touchdown. And James Cook, the rookie running back, he had 99 rushing yards and a touchdown. And receiver Gabe Davis, along with tight end Dawson Knox, each had a touchdown catch as well. As for Justin Fields, 119 passing, a touchdown, no interceptions, and Dante Pettis had a touchdown catch. So the Bills continued to roll as they go to 12-3 after winning their 6th straight game, and they clinched their 3rd straight AFC East title. The Bills offense and Josh Allen really struggled in this game in the first half, but they turned it They were able to turn it around in the second half as they outscored the Bears 29-3. The Bills' offense finished with 426 total yards as they rushed for 245 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. And the Bills' offense overcame their 3 turnovers in the game to get the win. The Bills' defense shut down the Bears' lethal running game. They were able to get 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and an interception off the backup quarterback Nathan Peterman, who was once a Buffalo Bill himself. The Bears, as for them, they played a solid first half, but they always fall flat in the second half. That's been the pattern we've seen with them. They start off hot and cold, and a lot of that had to do with their offense just getting 224 yards. Their rushing game, that has been pretty much the staple of their offense, was just held to 80 rushing yards. The Bears now lost 8 straight games to go 3-12 on the season. Next, the Texans beat the Titans 19-14. Davis Mills, 178 passing, a touchdown and an interception. Brandon Cooks had a touchdown catch. The rookie Malik Willis for the Titans had 99 passing yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 1 rushing touchdown. Derrick Henry, a $126 on the ground, along with 1 touchdown and 1 fumble. So the Texans snapped their 9-game losing streak against the divisional rival to have 2 wins, 12 losses, and 1 tie on the season. The Texans' offense didn't look that impressive. They had 288 yards, but their defense really stepped up. They had 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, and a fumble. And if you're a Texans fan, I'm sure you're just happy about snapping that 9-game losing streak. I can't tell you any fan base that would be happy about losing 9 straight. I don't care if it's for a better draft pick. For me, it would make me sick. So I know it's got to feel good as a Texans fan. As for the Titans, their quarterback Ryan Tannehill was done for the season with a broken foot. So the rookie Malik Willis got the start again, and he really struggled like he has in recent games. The Titans were able to run the ball as per usual. They had 184 rushing yards with 2 total touchdowns, but they couldn't pass the ball to save their life. The 2 interceptions by Malik Willis and the Derrick Henry fumble really hurt them and gave life to the Texans. The Titans have now lost 5 straight and could miss the playoffs. They could lose the AFC South, and they are now 7-8 on the season after starting off pretty good. Next, the Niners beat the Commanders 37-20. Brock Purdy, the rookie, 234 passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Christian McCaffrey had a rushing touchdown. And George Kittle, the tight end, 6 catches for a $120 and 2 scores. As for Taylor Heineke of the Washington Commanders, 166 passing, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and a fumble. He was benched for Carson Wentz, who threw for 123, a touchdown, and no interceptions. Terry McLaurin had a touchdown catch, and the rookie Jahan Dotson also had a touchdown catch. So the Niners dominate and go to 11-4 on the season with 8 straight wins. Brock Purdy and the Niners stay hot as they won 4 straight with Purdy as the quarterback. And in the first half, the offense started slow, but in the second half, they exploded for 30 points. The Niners offense had 387 total yards with 153 on the ground. The Niners defense had 2 sacks, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, and 2 fourth down stops. One was 4th and goal from the 1-yard line, and another one was 4th and 1 when the Commanders tried sneaking it from their own 35, but they failed. And the Commanders were able to hang in there for a little bit, but they got shut down on their own 35 on 4th and goal, and all the other turnovers that they had led to 21 Niner points. Taylor Heineke fumbled and then threw an interception on back-to-back possessions, so he was benched for Carson Wentz, who was the original starter in the beginning of the season. Wentz played for the first time since week 6 when he broke his hand, and he didn't do that bad. And the Commanders are close to making the playoffs, so it'll be interesting to see who they ride with at quarterback. But right now, their record is 7 wins, 7 losses, and 1 tie. Next, the Cowboys beat the Eagles 40-34. Dak Prescott, 347 passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Zeke Elliott had a rushing touchdown, and CeeDee Lamb, 10 catches for a $120 and 2 touchdowns. As for Gardner Minshew of the Eagles, 355 passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He also had a rushing touchdown and a fumble. Devontae Smith had 8 grabs for 113 and 2 scores. And A.J. Brown, 6 catches for 103. So the Cowboys get revenge versus their divisional rival, and they go to 11-4 on the season. And this game started off rough. Dak Prescott threw a pick 6, but he didn't lose his composure. After he threw that pick 6, he absolutely smoked the Eagles defense. And the play of the game it was the middle of the fourth quarter. It's 3rd and 30, and Prescott throws a 54-yard bomb to T.Y. Hilton for a completion, and that's why the Cowboys got T.Y. Hilton. They signed him a few weeks ago, and they signed him to be that extra receiver who could step up, that veteran receiver who can make plays, such as that 3rd and 30 play. And the Cowboys offense had 463 total yards, with 115 coming on the ground. And the Cowboys defense, they didn't have their best game. They couldn't get the Eagles off the field on 3rd and 4th down. They were getting burnt in the pass. They couldn't get a sack. They couldn't get any pressure, but they made up for it with 4 turnovers in crucial moments of the game. They got 2 picks and 2 forced fumbles, with one of the fumbles being in the last minute of the game that led to a field goal after the Eagles running back Miles Sanders was the one who fumbled the ball. And the Eagles offense was able to get 442 total yards, but those 4 turnovers is what really hurt their chances of beating the Cowboys. And I thought the Eagles were going to run the ball since the Cowboys aren't that great at stopping the run. They only had 87 rushing yards, and Minshew had a good game. He lit up their defense in the passing game, which I didn't really expect to see. And the Eagles fans, they keep chirping away. They're saying, oh, well, the Cowboys barely beat our backup quarterback because we didn't have our starter in. But if I recall, earlier in the season, the Eagles barely beat the Cowboys' backup quarterback. So it's just ironic. Eagles fans, you guys are lost in your own reality. But I got to give credit to the Eagles' defense. They had 6 sacks and a pick 6, but they couldn't stop Dak Prescott in the passing game. They have a good defense, but they got lit up, and this was probably their worst performance of the season. The Eagles are now 13-2. Next, the Steelers beat the Raiders 13-10. The rookie Kenny Pickett, 244 passing, a touchdown and an interception. The rookie receiver George Pickens had a touchdown catch. As for Derek Carr, 174 passing, a touchdown and 3 interceptions. Hunter Renfrow had a touchdown catch as well. So the Steelers keep their season alive to go 7-8. They got a win for the legendary Steelers running back Franco Harris, who passed away 4 days before the game started. And it was on this date, the date that these two teams played, that Franco Harris had what was called the Immaculate Reception, which was a game-winning touchdown catch versus the Raiders as time expired. It was a swatted ball. He was right there. He grabbed it and just ran it in. It was such a crazy win. This was a very long time ago. Rest in peace to Franco Harris. And the Steelers went out there and got the win for him. And speaking of the Steelers, their offense had 350 total yards, with 106 being rushing yards. Kenny Pickett had a game-winning drive with just minutes to spare in the fourth quarter. The Steelers' defense had 3 sacks with 3 interceptions. And the Raiders were just absolutely awful out there. Derek Carr pretty much threw the game away with his 3 interceptions. The offense had 232 total yards and only 58 rushing yards. The Raiders were up 10-3 in the fourth quarter, but then were outscored 10-0 in the fourth and lost. Another blown lead by the Raiders, and they are now 6-9. As for the Sunday games, the Christmas games, Packers beat the Dolphins 26-20. Aaron Rodgers, 238 passing, a touchdown and interception. A.J. Dillon had a rushing touchdown. Tua Tagovailoa, 310 passing, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Jalen Waddle, 5 catches for 143 and a touchdown. As for Tyreek Hill, he had 4 catches for 103 yards. So the Packers moved to 7-8 after getting their 3rd straight win to keep their playoff hopes alive. They were down 20-10 at halftime, but outscored the Dolphins 16-0 in the second half. The Packers' offense was decent. They had 317 total yards. They struggled running the ball, which is 79 rushing yards. But the offense was 3 for 5 on 4th down, which is what helped them get this win. And the Packers' defense had 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 3 interceptions. As for the Dolphins' offense, they were absolutely on fire in the first half, but they went stagnant in the second half by scoring no points. Tua was cooking earlier in the game, but in the second half, he threw the game away by throwing 3 interceptions. And the Dolphins' offense had a total of 4 total turnovers, and it's rare to see a team win a game when they turn the ball over 4 times. Tua is back in the concussion protocol. He hit his head on the ground, and it's just not good to see. He's already had 2 concussions in this season. It's not looking good for him. Dolphins now lost 4 straight games to go to 8-7 on the season. Next, the Rams beat the Broncos 51-14. Baker Mayfield, 230 passing, 2 touchdowns, no interception. Cam Akers, 118 rushing yards with 3 touchdowns. Tyler Higbee, the tight end, 9 catches, 94 yards, and 2 scores. As for Russell Wilson, 214 passing, a touchdown, 3 interceptions, and was benched in this game for Brett Rippon, who threw for 45 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. Receiver Jerry Jeudy, 6 catches for 117. So the Rams slaughter the Broncos. They go to 5-10 on the season. Baker Mayfield and the Rams offense had a great Christmas day. They had 388 total yards of offense with no turnovers, and they also had 158 rushing yards. Their offense is what the Rams offense was supposed to look like this entire season, and their defense went off as they got 6 sacks, 4 interceptions, 1 being a pick 6. The Broncos offense and defense just had an embarrassing game. The Broncos passing game had 4 picks, and the running game struggled as well. Russell Wilson was benched, and it seems like he's regressed this year. Is he done? We'll never really know. I think it's just he has bad coaching around him, and he might just need a new coach and a new system to help him flourish for this Broncos team that paid him a lot of money this offseason. The Broncos defense was absolutely torched. They got no sacks and no turnovers. The Broncos are 4-11. Next game is the Bucs beating the Cardinals in overtime, 19-16. Tom Brady, 281 passing, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Leonard Fournette, 72 rushing yards, 9 catches for 90 yards. And Trace McSorley of the Cardinals, 217, no passing touchdowns, an interception, and 2 fumbles. James Conner had a rushing touchdown, and Greg Dortch 10 catches for 98 yards. The Bucs win in overtime after being down 10 points in the fourth quarter. They're now 7-8 on the season. The Bucs offense had 396 total yards, but struggled majority of the game till the fourth quarter where they were down 16-6. Then Tom Brady took over, and we've seen this multiple times where they're down a lot or down a few scores. Tom Brady, fourth quarter time, epic comeback drive to force overtime, and then in overtime, they're able to go down the field and get the game-winning field goal. Classic Tom Brady fashion, and with all the injuries around the Cardinals quarterback, Trace McSorley made his first NFL start. He had some nice plays, but an interception and the 2 fumbles he had, especially the second fumble, it was late in the fourth quarter where they were already up by, I believe, 10 points, and he fumbled, and all of a sudden they kick the field goal or they score a touchdown off it, which brings them closer to the win. And the Cardinals, they had 2 interceptions, but unfortunately they couldn't stop the Bucs offense in the fourth quarter in overtime. Cardinals lost 5 straight games and are 4-11. The final game is the Monday night game. The Chargers beat the Colts 20-3. Justin Herbert, 235 passing, no touchdowns, 1 interception and 1 fumble. Austin Eckler, 2 rushing scores, and Keenan Allen, 11 grabs for 104. Nick Foles of the Colts, 143, no touchdowns, 3 picks, and Zach Moss, 65 rushing yards. So the Chargers clinch a playoff spot after getting their 3rd straight win to go to 9-6 on the season. The Chargers offense had 336 total yards, but had 2 turnovers, which wasn't their best performance. But the Chargers defense really had a night as they had 7 sacks with 3 interceptions. And Nick Foles gets the start for Matt Ryan, which means the Colts are Super Bowl bound, right? Because Nick Foles, as we all know, he was the backup quarterback for the Eagles who went on to win the Super Bowl, but he's not having that magic now as he had a horrible game. He threw 3 interceptions. The Colts only had 212 yards in offense, and they were 1 for 4 on 4th down. It's just a really pitiful night for their offense. The Colts defense had a good game. They had 4 sacks, 1 interception, and 1 forced fumble, but didn't get any help from their offense. The Colts on the season now have 4 wins, 10 losses, and 1 tie. They've lost 5 straight and are eliminated from the playoffs. So that's it for the Week 16 recap around the NFL. Thank you all for watching. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on my Instagram. Do what you can to like, share, and promote my page. Thank you all.